Hello and welcome to A Game of Two Halves, a sports show brought to you by sports journalism students here at the University of South Wales. I am your host, Ethan Harris, and first of all, I'll be taking you through all the latest headlines in Welsh sport. The draw for the 2027 Rugby World Cup was announced on Wednesday as Wales were paired with neighbours England in Pool F, along with Tonga and Zimbabwe. This would be Steve Tandy's first World Cup as head coach of the side, where he will be hoping to make progress and bring the glory days back to Welsh rugby. The FAW have announced a landmark figure of 20,000 girls and women officially registered to play football in Wales. This number has massively increased over the past 3 years, where the FAW said that they had less than 10,000 players when they launched the initiative in 2021. And finally, in the snooker, Mark Williams was knocked out of the UK Championship in the round of 16 at the York Barbican on Wednesday. The Welshman is a two-time champion of this tournament and was the 5th seed, but ultimately was sent home following a 6-3 defeat to Pang Zhengzhou. For our first story today, Callum visited the Cardiff City Stadium as it was announced Bluebirds midfielder Ruben Colwill has had surgery on his ankle injury.
Cardiff City starman Ruben Colwill announced that he had surgery on his injury on Tuesday. The midfielder took to Instagram to announce this, with his surgery completed and successful, and it's set to take 10 to 12 weeks for his recovery. The star midfielder is an academy graduate and has been a prolific player and an important player this season for the Bluebirds. He's contributed 9 times this season in all competitions so far in just the 20 games that he's played for the club. Since the announcement of Ruben Colwill's injury, the club played at the weekend against Mansfield Town where they won 3-0, as many other talent was in the squad. Other talent that can replace the midfielder while he's out is his brother Joel Colwill, Amari Kellerman, Chris Willock and Callum Robinson. On Tuesday night, after the Virtue Trophy game against AFC Wimbledon, manager Brian Barry Murphy was asked about his relationship with Ruben Colwill and whether he's checked up on him since the injury.
He seems very positive. I think always when we have injuries of that nature, it's always the period in between the injury occurring and when you have the surgery that's the most, at least the most anxiety, because you're always waiting whether I am going to have surgery or not. And once you have it, you can start to see the road back to recovery is on the way, and you're already taking the days off to when you can start to get back on the pitch, back in the gym, and the other way around.
The injury comes at an unfortunate time as we enter a busy Christmas period with games coming thick and fast for the Bluebirds. With the midfielder set to be out for 3 months, he's set to return about February-March time, towards the back end of the season, where he can make a massive impact in the run-in for promotion.
Moving on, we head up to the Valleys as Callum spoke to former Pontypridd United women's manager Drew Lewis and the club's director of football Steve Savage about mental health in sport.
Mental health is a huge issue in sport and wider society, and it's important to raise awareness about this issue. Drew Lewis has been involved with the women's team at Pontypridd United for the last few years and was made manager at the start of the season before recently taking the decision to step away from that role due to personal reasons. He has since joined back with the club, returning to the position that he was doing last season, still heavily involved in the women's and girls area at Pontypridd.
You know, at all levels, I don't think it's spoken about mental health, and I think it needs to change. It's not just from, elite level, it's this level and even grassroots. I mean, everyone struggles, everyone needs support. And I think during the time where I stepped away, the amount of support I had, even from coaches I didn't know, players I didn't know, was massive. It was basically a factor of many things. Obviously, football can be a lot of stress, especially in pre-season at that level. Also, things at home, obviously they take a bit of a toll, and then obviously, if I've not got the energy or the passion to show the players what they need to have on the pitch in training or in matches or the dressing room, lastly I want his players to not be playing for me because of that reason. I sent them obviously the message after the Barrytown game when I was going to step down, just purely because of my mental health issues at the time. I was building up for a while, and then obviously they said, take your time, and there's always a place for you here. I think it was about a week or two after I've had discussions with Steve Savs and Darren Haynes, who've been massive help for me getting back on my feet and also back into the club. So they were really supportive during my 2 weeks that I stepped away. I thought it was going to be a lot longer, but I think with the support I had, it made me realise that I can do it if I do speak and tell people about it as well.
Really, it's listening, understanding where he's at. The decision when he actually took it, I was away and a couple of board members were away, so we were unaware. And then when we reached out to him, I met up with him and just really sat down and had a cup of coffee with him. Sounds really simple and obvious, but spent time to listen, to understand his situation and where he is. So really, it's listening to him, taking into account of what pressures have built up to make him kind of want to take a break from the game, and what measures we can put in as a football club to support him as a person first and foremost. The football was almost secondary. Look, it's a an area that's out there in social medias, and it's a massive area that needs to be considered. It's not just about your physical outputs; it's about your mental health and well-being. And that holistic approach, if you're not right mentally, then physically it has kind of negative impact. So the importance of making sure that you recognise when things are a bit too much. Talking is really important, and as men generally we don't talk, but we need to. As a club, we're really open, and me and the board and other members across the club, it's nothing is off limits. We need to talk about what's going on and making sure that people arrive ready, as I call it, in issues that are going on at home. Whether or not if they can share and we can help. But it's respecting the privacy of individuals, but making sure that people are open and honest as best they can be.
Now, we caught up with Office and Business Manager of Squash Wales, Russell Edwards, as he spoke about the Sports Business Awards nomination at the weekend and also the plans for the future of the sport in Wales.
We were nominated for a Sports Business Award for the Sports Inclusivity, Diversity and Equality category. To be even nominated for the award was quite an achievement, and we were sitting on the table with some big players, and for us to be there and our name popping up on the board was really a great honour for us. And it's massive. We're a small team at Squash Wales, we punch well above our weight for what we do. So to put on the event like the Welsh Wheelchair Open, it was a lot of volunteers, clubs had to buy in, obviously we had to get players, and then all our organisational staff. It was a massive team effort, and to see it come to fruition and then we get the award at the Sports Business Awards was a brilliant thing for us. But it's just the start. Well, it's exciting, it's something different. I think it's important that we push ourselves as well to do these inclusive events. So the team were fully behind it. It was the first time doing an event like that was really a pleasure. It was great to do it and to see it come off on the day. Fantastic. The feedback has been immense. Well, it's the profile. It's the Olympics. There's nothing really bigger than the Olympics. So it's the profile of squash in out there, and we want to attract more players to the game in Wales. Hopefully it'll inspire a new generation of youngsters. We've got our academies in North Wales and South Wales. Hopefully we can attract more players to that. We've got our squash camps that we hope we'll see getting busier through kids who've been inspired by it. And maybe people who used to play squash might want to go back to playing squash and join the Masters programme. So I think what we're hoping for is that it inspires players to try the game, because once you play squash, it's a great game, and we just need more people to try it.
Next up, we spoke to our very own second-year USW sports journalism student, Eleanor Clifton, about all things on the course, how she got to where she is today, and what the future has in store for her career.
So I always knew I wanted to work in sport in some way, and I did photography for my A-levels, and then I was like, why don't I see if I can broaden it. So when I was looking at universities, I noticed USW had a sports journalism course, and they'd always been a uni on my radar anyway, so I applied for it, and I've not looked back since really. It's got so much experience already in the a year and a bit I've been on the course, so it's amazing. I mean, I've always done a sport at some point. Like my mum put me in swimming lessons as early as possible, and then I flicked between like tennis, football, and now run. So it's always been there. But my earliest memory is just watching the races. I think probably the one that sticks out the most is the first year I went to Silverstone for Formula One. It wasn't great weather, but it was so fun to be there and actually watch the cars live go around rather than just watching it on your screen. So we early on in the first year, we had to create a podcast as part of one of our modules, And then me and the other guy I do it with, we decided why don't we stick it out and see if it can become something, because we're both massive F1 fans. It just gives us a chance to share our opinions and just get or introduce more people to sport as we build their knowledge. And it's just something we want to continue for as long as possible. I think it's very important because obviously it's not a gendered industry, so anyone can do it. So I think the importance, having grown up with not many females on my screen, it's like you want to show everyone that you can do it, and it doesn't matter who you are, like what gender you are, it's possible. So it's just about proving to the world that it doesn't matter, like you can do it if you put your mind to it. I plan on trying to get into one of the F1 teams for an internship or work placement to start building the contacts directly. And my main goal is to work within the media side of Formula One. It would just be amazing to work in a sport that I love so much.
I'm now joined here in the studio by fellow third-year student Michael Addison, who is our expert on all things Newport County. So, Mike, what have you made of Christian Fuchs's start at the club?
It has been a very mixed start at the moment. Obviously, the final game of his the first four he's done is that 3-0 defeat away at Boreham Wood on the weekend. That was a really damaging result in terms of the result against the type of opponent they're up against, the non-league side. But more importantly, the fact that they've missed the opportunity to maybe get into the third round of the FA Cup, where the competition gets really, really important with Premier League and Championship sides coming in. So there's an opportunity missed for more financial revenue coming into the club.
You just mentioned that Boreham Wood result on the weekend. How damaging is it for a club when they are struggling at the wrong end of the table?
I think a result like that, I think it needs to be the turning point. I think in terms of now they've lost maybe not an embarrassing result, but a disappointing one. That's got to be used as the fuel to be able to turn the team's fortunes around for the rest of the season.
Well, speaking of teams' fortunes, what do you think the key is for Newport if they are to pull off a great escape?
I would say recruitment. I think the best players that they can get at the moment is the best opportunity they have between now and May to actually turn their season around in League Two.
Thank you very much, Michael. We have another episode of this show coming up after this. Here's what you can expect to see on USW SJTV.
Up next, we check out rugby league, volleyball, catch up with a second-year student, and talk Barry Town. Tune in for all this and more at 12:45.
And finally, Griff Jones, a university student in Cardiff, is planning to make an extraordinary adventure across the globe to climb Mount Kilimanjaro with a Cardiff-based team. Here's some more on that one.
So, August 2026, I'm going to be climbing Kilimanjaro with a Cardiff team that's based with Dig Deep, the charity. They work in Kenya. And then throughout, basically from now to August, I'm going to be doing different fundraising activities, and that is from cycling to also doing different hikes around the UK. My motivation, I've been trying to find a way. I've been wanting to do Kilimanjaro for years, for quite a while, and then I've been trying to find a way to do it. And it started out, well, I was just saving for it and just doing it on my own. And then someone from the Cardiff team got in contact with me and offered me this kind of motivation to do it and this opportunity to do it. And it just felt like it kind of fell into my lap, really. The lack of sleep. I think it's they present it to you. You're up very early and climbing till quite late in the hours. So I think the higher I'll get, and it's 4 days up, so 4 nights. And I think maybe the last night will be quite difficult. Dig Deep charity. They are formed in 2007. They work out of Kenya, and they're like a multi-award winning charity, and they provide clean, safe and easy to get water to places in Kenya that basically, you have 2 out of 3 people who can't get that sort of accessibility, and they're working towards making it reliable for everyone to get. So at the moment you can donate via the Dig Deep Challenges website, and you can search my name and it should pop up, or you can go to my Instagram at Griff Jones, and you'll find a link on my Instagram bio for you to donate there.
That's all we have time for on today's episode of A Game of Two Halves. I've been your host, Ethan Harris, and we thank you for joining us today. Thank you and goodbye.